Hey, it's a party. Yeah. Welcome everybody to our hasn't been a sweat lodge in this room in years. Since before the pandemic. Thanks for bearing with us. Those of you online, you don't have to deal with it, but let me describe it to you. You see, you can't hear the noise because Zoom sucks. Like you can't hear the ambient noise, but there's like lots of conversation and rustling. And well, now it's dead silent, but it was before. And there were people eating cookies. We have cake. And I have to describe the cake to you. So the cake is like the cover of the book. It is so fucking cool. Anyways, so you know, a new book by Maw Shein Win isn't an event in and of itself. And what a lovely book it is. Look at this cover. I mean, it's freaking Percussing the Thinking Jar, which is, of course, produced by our friends at Omnidawn Press, who are, of course, legendary. Big shout out, and a big shout out to our friend Rusty, who couldn't be here tonight, sadly. On your chairs, you will find a flyer. Please check it out before the end of the evening. And I'll talk more about that later. So, of course, Ma is one of the great poetic treasures of the Bay Area. Many, of course, know of her as being the inaugural poet of El Cerrito, poet laureate, as well as for her previously published books, The Storage Unit for the Spirit House, which is another Omnidawn book, and also Invisible Gifts from Manic D. Ma teaches poetry at the MFA program at the University of San Francisco, and she's also one of the co-founders of Maker, Mentor, and Muse, which is a new literary community here in the Bay Area. So she's got all kinds of stuff going on. And, you know, it's always fun having events with you. I mean, what can I say? You know, it's just like, you know, the mood in the room is really, really great. So we're very honored to have MK Chavez with us here tonight with Ma, who, of course, is an award-winning writer and educator. Her published works include Dear Animal, Mother Morphosis, Virgin Eyes, and the lyric essay chapbook, A Brief History of the Selfie. She curates the reading series Lyrics and Dirges and is the co-director of the Berkeley Poetry Festival. She's won numerous awards. And then recently, she participated in Manifest Differently, which was an art installation and education project which ran from September 23rd, 2023, rather, to April 2024. Very, very cool. I don't know how many of you got to see that, but really incredible. Say a few words about Rusty. I don't know how many of you know. Rusty is an institution here in the Bay Area with Omnidawn and for everything that she does for the community. She got hit by a car. And so there's a GoFundMe. And so the sheet on your chairs is, you know, if you can donate a little something, it would help her go a long, long way in her healthcare. Because as you know, healthcare, you know, even with Obamacare, it still is what it is. So I'm going to turn it over now. Are we going to go with MK first, or are you going to go? Are you going to say a few words first? Yeah. So here's Ma.
Oh my goodness, this is so exciting to see everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Peter. I am so grateful to Peter and to City Lights Books. I had my launch here for Invisible Gifts in 2018, and Peter was so generous and said, you can have your lunch here. I'm like, so really exciting to be here. And I just want to make a statement about independent bookstores and publishers, indie publishers and libraries, especially during these challenging times. I think we really need to support them when freedom of speech and education are even more at stake, as we all know. So I want to express my deep gratitude for co-publishers and dream duo Rusty Morrison and Laura Joachimson, and to everyone at Omnidawn for their amazing work. It has just been dreamy to work with Omnidawn for Storage Unit for the Spirit House and my new very long book, 186 pages. Thank you, Laura and Rusty. I'd like to do a shout out for Omnidawn. Small presses need your support, and it would be so wonderful. There's also a second flyer on your seat to raise money for Omnidawn's end of year Program. So if you would like to donate, that would be wonderful. And finally, a huge thanks to all of you for coming out tonight. Thank you so much. And to my dear friend, MK. So it is my absolute delight to introduce my longtime friend, writer, educator, and self-described art monster, MK Chavez. MK and I met in 2013 at a poetry reading in Oakland. Like so many, I am dazzled by MK's writings, whose literary offerings include Dear Animal, Mothermorphosis, the lyric essay chapbook, A Brief History of the Selfie, and Virgin Eyes, all amazing works. And their work explores mixed race identity, social justice, environmental resilience, horror cinema, magic, ritual, and the creative process. Chavez's work has been recognized with the Penn Josephine Miles Award, the San Francisco Foundation Nomadic Press Literary Award, and the Ruth Weiss Maverick Award. Over the years, we have taught, written, and read together, and I appreciate MK's generous and caring spirit. And MK is not only a fashion icon, as you can all see, who agreed to wear matching outfits tonight, but is also an inspiration for so many in our writing community. So let's welcome MK.
Okay, so many things to say. I'll start by saying I love Ma, and the proof is here. I would never otherwise wear this much green for another human being. Ma is incredibly generous and has insisted that I read tonight, which we went back and forth a few times. And finally, you know, when Ma puts her foot down, it's really kind of funny. Also a little scary. She's like, gets her serious voice. Yeah. So I'm going to read a few pieces, and I actually want to start with this piece. And Ma, I think you're going to recognize this.
Okay.
And then I will say a few other things. Museum visit, SF MoMA, January 19th, 2023. Dear companion, we arrive as oracles. Plastic bimorphic chairs await us. We say we will remember. A bagel with a million tiny black dots. How I was partial to the stuffed rat, pieced together from old fur coats, its sad armature encased in glass. You loved the earthly pole. Then it came time to pose against the wall. The greenery of it all. Smiling fronds. Assessments of gray hair. Your dotted red dress. It was all lush. The petiole, blade, and fiddleheads. We turned the woman who offered to take our picture away because we knew we were complete.
Oh.
Among other things, Ma and I go to art museums and look at art, and we have shared really wonderful moments. Both of us feel like art is cleansing and healing. So we share that, and she's been a wonderful partner in exploring art more and using it as inspiration. This poem is a self-portrait horse, and it's from a reading that we did together at Stanford. Self-portrait horse, after Deborah Butterfield's horse. There's something post-apocalyptic about the appearance of a creature from an imagined world, spindled stick figure, blasted by fire and wretched. I say this, horse, you and me, we might be necromancy. Maybe it's ill will. Maybe we are skeleton and strange, mudbound. I imagine us frolicking in the great pastoral we were both promised. Ever the fowl, we arrive in technicolor, all teeth, rust, and bone. Occasional parts of woman and horse, a bit of this, a bit of that. Maybe we are the last days on earth. Watch us, bridled and reigned at a 3-day wedding in the wine country, where $10,000 flower arbors are refreshed daily. And the refrain is, I do, I do. Elsewhere, the gazers pass the blazing shantytown on East 12th Street and International. Translucent plastic catches the light just so. Wet cardboard molds itself into nesting material, and repurposed metal sings the wind. Watch us lope into the debris and make it our musculature. They say a horse turns back to its wild nature after 3 years away from domestication. Who of us can make sense of all of this? This snout, the belly, the legs, are parts infinitely collectible. You see, this horse seems fragile, barely held together, but the alchemy has conjured this beast into infinity, and they will likely outlast us all. Creature of churn, equus ferus, look at you, revered and formulaic. Warm blood, you are a metaphor. How alien, how apt and familiar. One of the things that is so amazing about Ma is that she, in addition to all of the wonderful things that she does, she is constantly inspiring. Like, she will ask questions about things, and she will ask you questions about your work, and she'll say, let's create a performance where you dance to, there may be some of you in the audience that she has wrangled into something like that. But luckily for me, it's just been writing poetry so far. She knows, I've told her how to feel. Yeah, performance art. Yeah. So these self-portraits were inspired by things that Ma, the amount of questions that Ma asks me. Self-portrait as Corvus. I'm a crow in a woman's body. Caw. To open my beak and leak sound into the world. I am in a woman's body, or so they tell me, not a songbird. There is melancholia that comes from knowing who you are. I have grown eyes on the back of my head. I have grown a third eye, eyes all over my body. Self-portrait is garden machine. I'm mechanical and compound eyes. I have bells and I'm unpredictable at times. I'm nonsensical. I can see everything and have predilection for counting some things before they are hatched, as if I had fangs and claw. Grasshoppers are biblical. Stories about us are like Locust and Jezebel. Last night, I found a grasshopper in my bedroom, and we slept together, breathing and making our legs sing until we were sacred. Some people will happily eat us. We are multicolored. We prefer to live in the in-between, where everything is possible. I ring my bells. I ring my bells. Okay. So now for the first good part. I get to reintroduce Ma. So it is beyond a joy, which is really important because in this moment in the world, it is challenging to find joy. So I really don't want to let that pass and say that beings like Ma are so necessary right now. I love being here celebrating this new book. I have heard many of the poems. I have read them all. I was very lucky. I'm really lucky to know Ma for 13 years, for over 13 years, actually. Let me say that when I was sitting down to write the introduction, I realized how difficult it is to describe Ma. She's like a beautiful piece of art that you can kind of begin to describe, but then there's more, and there's more. But I'm going to try. Ma's contributions, like you heard earlier, to poetry, the community, are amazing. She supports other writers. She creates events. She creates kind of a flurry around her that makes us all want to get involved and do a little bit more. She also invites people she meets on BART to come to readings. This guy over here in the corner, he was just looking at books and was like, so welcome to the Maw fan club. We're glad you're here. Welcome to the family. She brings poetry into every aspect of life, and I love that. Her books, Score and Bone, Invisible Gifts, and Storage for the Spirit House are testaments of her brilliance and the way in which she is so committed to bring beauty into the world. She has many accolades. Please read about them. They're a lot. When I think about Ma's poetry, I think about its ability to ground us and transport us. Her writing has a quiet, unyielding power, full of sharp observation and an emotional resonance that lingers long after the page has been turned. Great poems are mysterious, and they also offer something to explore. And that, to me, really describes Ma's work. It leads to an illumination that helps us understand the world a little differently than we did before we read her poems. They're a balance between personal vulnerability and an expansive universal vision. And to me, what stands out most is really that all of her generous spirit kind of flows through those poems. Somehow she manages to put that big, huge thing into these sometimes tiny. She's gotten longer poems now, so it's exciting. I think of Percussing the Thinking Jar, of her continued exploration of language and sound, and the intricate ways in which it helps us make sense of the world, especially now. It's a masterpiece. And Ma, I want to take a moment to thank you for your friendship, for your poetry, for the light that you bring into the world, for making me a better person, for being the person I can call when I'm trying to be a better person. And I can say all the things that are not like a better person thing to say. And then can dig in and figure out with her how we can overcome all of these things to continue to try to be good people. Please join me in welcoming her up to the mic and to read her incredible work and to celebrate her book. Welcome.
Okay, I'm so touched. I'm gonna try not to cry. Oh, sorry, I'm just, I'm a little stunned by that. Thank you, sweetie. Introduction. So thank you for that beautiful introduction and your reading. And I just want to say it's so exciting to be celebrating here at City Lights with you all. When my first collection came out in 2018, Invisible Gifts, Peter was so generous. And well, it was interesting because I remember my publisher said, well, where would you like to have your launch? I'm like, oh, why not City Lights? That's all. I think I called you on the phone, Peter. I emailed you, I can't remember. And I'm just like, how do you know me? But launch at City Lights. He writes me back and says, okay. I'm like, anyway, so it's amazing to be here again. Thank you, Peter. So I'd also like to thank Lee Herrick, Shane McCrae, Jenny Chi and Arisa White, and John Yao for their beautiful endorsements. And my dear friend and collaborator, Mark Dutcher. Mark and I have been collaborating for many decades. We won't say how many. Speaking of performance art, a lot of bad performance art with Adrian. Yay for bad performance art. I call it BPA. And Mark made, I'm going to show some of them to you. Mark made 16 beautiful sumi ink drawings for this book, and they're gorgeous. And I just felt so inspired, so I made broadside sets. So some of you will get some. And he also did the beautiful cover art, as well as the painting on the back, which is at his house at Sea Ranch with David. And I love this painting. And Mark drove down today from Sea Ranch and brought the painting. So I know, thank you. I love you, Mark. And I want to thank the writing and art communities here in the Bay Area. I'm just so grateful. I think I moved here in '96. And when did we start Comet, Kathleen? 99. So Kathleen and Susan and I started Comet, this magazine, not having any plans at all whatsoever. Just what? Or money. I was just like, but you could do that in the 90s. Right? Okay. Anyways, so inspiring and so grateful to my sister that we talk on the phone every morning. We complain half the time, but then the rest of the time we talk about positive things. And I want to thank my honey Tom. I was going to say all these really romantic things, and he's like, honey, that's too much. And so I want to thank you, honey. He heard every single poem, and many times. I have to tell you, I probably have, I don't know, like 35, 40 drafts of this book. I was completely obsessed with working on it. So the first 2 years of the pandemic, I was basically just writing all the time. And so I love you. Thank you. So I want to share a few words about the process of making Percussing the Thinking Jar. At the beginning of the quarantine of spring 2020, locked down as we were, I sometimes felt as if I were trapped in my mind, which I came to call my thinking jar. I channeled my energies and worries into multiple notebooks, cataloging dreams, observations, sensations, and instructions. In the logging and listing of the fragments of my monkey mind, I was ultimately able to let go just a little bit and lighten some of the mental and emotional overload. Revisiting my notebooks revealed patterns that led to a new form, poetic form, I decided to call a thought log. And if you get a copy, you can see in the back, I came up with all these like rules for myself for the thought log form. And from there, I began to write log thoughts, observation logs, sleep logs, and other types of logs, along with a number of standalone poems. And I will begin with one of my thought logs. And oh, if you have a book and you'd like to follow along, I can give you the page number too. I was being kind of geeky today, but it's page 19. It's the first poem in the book. Thought log. Swinging on an old rope from the edge of a cliff. A lit up room, a giant X covered in sequins. Gone lawns, fan crowns, drone town. An orange ceramic swallow from Portugal. My love's laughter from the study. Reimagine cures. Amber nimbus, ochre hawks, spring shambles. I believe in the healing power of crystals. They thought my hair had turned white due to pandemic stress. My sinuses are being occupied. I feel lonely, and then I don't. I eat another bowl of kitchery, the bits of ginger. Sari fabric, mild steel, jade traps. What are we in for? The somatic therapist leads us on a guided visualization through a sacred grove. I swim in a field of pathogens. Thank you. And this is a log thought, which is different from a thought log. But I won't tell you all the rules. Log thought. Read the vulnerability. Sorry, I'll start over. Read the vulnerability clause. Faint in the trenches. Find cheap healers online. I see a bluebird with teeth. I can't find my veins. My sister, an intimate contortionist. Interrogate. Vault. Thank you. So now I'd like to read from another series called The Thinking Jar. And so I came up with a rule that each stanza has to have a color and an animal, a symbol, and the pronoun I. The Thinking Jar. I dab viridian green on eyelids. A gnat hums. In the factory, an opera is born. On the shed, an owlet broods in shade. I knit a shawl of cadmium orange. Blizzard blue swirls as meerkats emerge. I swoon alone. Amber sky space. I bathe in mint, a mole in the bush. Thank you. So there's a series of poems called Stroke Log, and our mother had a stroke within the first year of lockdown. So there are a number of poems, and this is one of them, Stroke Log. From our second floor window, I watched the neighbor below, raking piles of orange leaves, hair in a high bun. After my mother's second stroke, I tally the lexicon that remains. She monitors her blood pressure from afar. A friend paints a series called Goth Mountain. Recalling failed utopias, I send another 3-line poem. An uncle sends texts all day, photos of suits, glasses of wine, messages to senators that unnerve. On a walk this morning, I see our mail carrier. Lean legs, fingerless gloves. I offer gold-wrapped bonbons. He accepts. Thank you. So Thank you, everyone. So yeah, I was talking about in the 80s when Mark and Adrian and I were living in this house called the Grisham House in North Long Beach. You lived there for a while, sis. And it's oh, Rob, you did too. Oh my God. 2-bedroom house in North Long Beach. I mean, sometimes we had like 10 people living there. I don't just like but so many memories of that time. And this is called the Grisham House for Adrian and Mark. It was velvet, then noise. There was silence on sandpaper. I lived with an artist, a dancer, a sculptor. We drank brown derby beer. We lived by railroad tracks and talked to trains, sang among weeds and peach trees. My voice deepened an octave. The sculptor warmed up his explosion. We constructed a time capsule, buried it in the yard. I dropped in a poem, the artist a bottle cap, the dancer a Polaroid of our house. Yes, my octaves welcomed me. Yes, I welcomed them back. So this is kind of a funny story. So we did have a party. I loved we all love throwing parties, but I really love throwing theme parties. So I was like, oh my God. And this was the morning of the party. I said, let's make a time capsule. And then, do you remember that? How can we forget? And so anyways, long story short, so our roommate, John, made a time capsule and we all like, put these different things in there. And then I said, okay, everyone, now what we're going to do is we're going to walk in the backyard. What was that Carpenter song that I was obsessed with? The Alien song? I don't remember, but it's so, yeah, I think that was, and then so we all walked and like held candles and we went in the backyard and then we buried the time capsule somewhere in the backyard of this house. It's still there. So we tried to go back, remember? And we're digging around like, what happened to the time capsule? So I kind of love that it's still there in Long Beach. And someday, I don't know, some developer is going to like find it or something. Anyways. Okay. Portion. My right ovary. An egg desert. Fortnight lily. Petal armor. Uterus container of blood memory. Left ovary, mourned bud. Swallow pain, sink in tub. One perfumed fibroid, rock melon. Remove seed pods from cervix. Bouquet effect, floating frond, an enigma in the canal. Disorderly array of tissues, tendrils, blooms in blackness. So this is in memory of bok choy, my feline companion of 19 years. And we said goodbye to her within the first year of lockdown. And this is for her. And I think I have 4 bok choy logs in the book. Bok choy log. BC's cat stand and cat bowl are empty. Yesterday it rained and the sidewalks are cleared of blood, feathers. Her ashes rest in a cedar box inscribed with her death date, paws imprinted in plaster of Paris. A week later, a hummingbird feather blows across the floor. I check under the table, fluffs of dust. We scroll Pet Finder for cats available for adoption. Sometimes BC enters my REM state. I awake, startled not to see her on the bed. The grass on the lot for sale 2 doors over is a bright downy green. soft and welcoming. Miss Bok Choy. So this is a poem that was recently published in the Bangalore Review. Very exciting. It's called Hyphen Log. Hyphen log. Question mark, comma, hyphen. Marks punctuated by division upon division. A leaving behind, a coming toward, a moving between. Language heard over tables, under walls. How we connect, how we do not. Flip-flops, tea shop, full stop. Burma, Myanmar. Born within a border is another border. Collision tables, brain sprain, division trains. A comma, soft pause, separates conjunctions. Shot echoes, cyclone pound, plumeria rain. So as Peter mentioned, Rusty was hit by a car, and I've been visiting her and checking in on her, bringing her sushi and chocolate. If you want to give her chocolate, I can tell you exactly what kind of chocolate she likes. I wanted to read this poem for Rusty, which is in my book, Catalyst for Rusty. Svota, the existence of thought without words. A sack of skin is a meaning sack. We write from the neck, hole in the gut, fur on the arms. Cold today, soft socks, back, ugh. Note slow growth of eyebrows. Warm germs slip through the screen into mouth rooms. Our gestural habits. Legs, no beds, edge, hands to banister. Some dappled waters. Silver tempers. Paint circles thought. Thank you. Thanks. Okay. So this is a love poem of sorts. It's another hyphen log. How I love your ferret flounder, your CC ball action, your mesh expansion. I delight in your stick figure fashions, your genetic bacteria drawings, and Pandora's box optimism. I adore your AI voiceovers, Cochin obsessions, shiitake floor plans, murmur, rub, gallops. How I marvel at your smoky ring butt, lumber baron plumes, your say something, what are you thinking of? Wonder at your buzz whip dance numbers, ambient screams, montage, sugar shots, saturated moans. My monofilament puff, how you, I, how I, you, how I, how you, you. It's a weird love poem, I know. Yeah. And my second to last poem, Winter Hair, also for Tom. I hear the songbirds more these days, try to decipher sirens and calls. You make a cocktail for us called Black Lily. I grow out my white roots, winter hair. Our calico wails at 3 a.m. Our mother's losing her hearing. Figs fall from nearby trees. A wild bobcat roams yards of shuttered homes. I read somewhere that blue jays molt. Unkempt, they fly away. Thank you. So thank you, everyone. Lovely. So it's my final poem, and it's another thought log. Thought log. Live in a snow globe. Gutter barn, iron lace, snake milk. Short-circuited tank time. I am made of soft bones. Hurricane evacuation orders. This is a testing situation. Life can't kill my rainbow. The year my identity was stolen. Cinematic salmon tones. Dream boat. Hot foam, pink snaps, mace stash. I sense a donkey theme in the narrative. Create calm corners. Delectable lectures. Raven bed, robe snatcher, bee wrangler. We're having chocolate for dinner. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you, everyone. So now, thank you, everyone. So now MK and I are going to have a little conversation. And after that, we'll have a cake. Yay.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay. I sent Ma 120 questions to choose from.
I love the questions.
Well, I guess first I want to I guess start with how your work seems to kind of live and kind of dance between control and letting go, kind of chaos and calm. Does that help your process, that tension when you're creating, when you're generating? And can you talk about that?
Yes, yes. So I love this question because I really felt when I read this question by you, MK, that it kind of captured a lot of what I was doing, whether consciously or unconsciously, when I was working on this book. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I kept many, many journals, and I was not intentionally thinking, oh, this is going to be a book. It was just kind of what I needed to do was write and write and write. And so, you know that store Daiso? They're marvelous notebooks that are unlined, and they're $1.75, and they have a brown cover. Okay, like I probably have like 300 of them for Tom. And I just kept writing and writing and writing. And I think it was because I was, indoors for, the first 2 years, and all my excess energy that usually like running around doing a million things, I just channeled into my writing. So kind of the chaos of everything in the world, but then this kind of weird tension of the calm, because I was just by myself. Tom was working, going to work every day, and of being home by myself. The chaos and the calm together, I felt, was really a big part of the process of working on this book. And I think what kind of tempered the chaos was, after like looking through my copious notes, I started creating these different forms, and I felt like forms actually created a structure for me to take, like, maybe I guess like kind of the chaos of all these notebooks and writing, and help me find ways to work with all the language and write these poems.
That's great. That's great. So, yeah, I'm really interested in the structure of thought logs, and how distinct it is, but how there's this thread of fragmentation that runs through all of your work. And I wonder how you arrived at the different forms and how that, what that process is like for you as you enter the fragmentation zone.
Zone. Well, so when, I decided to go back to the notebooks, I noticed that, I think I said a little bit about it, but that I was writing specifically in these weird patterns of juxtaposed pairs of words, but in 3 sets. Does that make sense? And and I wasn't even really thinking about like, oh, I'm going to do this thing. I just was writing and writing and writing. And then when I look back and I noticed, I was like, oh, this is kind of weird. Like, I feel like I was channeling something, and so I went back and I just, highlighted like these phrases that I was seeing and, making these poems. But it wasn't until like I had written like maybe 10 or 15 of them, there are 25 in the book, that I was just like, oh, I think I need to create even more order for like, I mean, I don't want to say the chaos, but these poems that I put together. And so I kind of, I mean, I didn't start over, but I went back to the very beginning and I thought of my rules. And if you see the book on the, at the very end, I created a thought log about thought logs. So these were my rules for myself. I'm kind of neurotic, but I created these rules for myself that I decided that I would follow. So I went back and just rewrote them all. And yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that was the most Moss statement I've ever heard. And it is, it's kind of like you're this, kind of rebel, but then you have, like you have rules about your rebellion, right? So good. And you like to bring others into it. So tell us about collaboration across genres and disciplines and how you work with sensory experience.
Okay. So, I mean, I think a lot of you know this about me. I love to collaborate. Should be my middle name. Yeah, I love working with musicians and dancers, other writers. Okay, I feel, but we've been involved in different projects, collaborative projects. But you and I need to come up with a project, just the two of us. And I just feel that one of the reasons that I love collaborating so much is that there is this opportunity to create something from that is not anything that you would have expected when you started writing, right? Or started making or started creating. So, I mean, there is this opportunity that maybe what you make isn't so great, but there's also this opportunity that you'll make something that could be amazing and you never thought would have happened. And I think that's why I love the process. So I'll just give you an example. So I didn't teach over the summer, but I was just like, okay, Maw, you need a project. Stay focused, stay focused. So I asked my friend Adrienne, who wish she could be here tonight. Hi, Adrienne. And I said, Adrienne, I have an idea. You know how to like use a computer and make a website. So I said, why don't we meet every week and we'll write in real time and we'll just post our poems and photos that are on our phone right there and then. And we don't revise, we don't edit or anything. So we've been doing this since the beginning of the summer and it's been super fun. And now, we've kind of expanded it to include painters. We have a section called 3 Cherries where we invite artists to talk about their process because I'm really in a process. And yeah, it's just been really fun. And I just feel that all of you should collaborate. It's really, a wonderful experience to do that.
So one of the threads between your books, I think, is, kind of the body healing. There's a kind of a relationship and in investigating the relationship to those processes, right, of the body. And so I'm curious about, how you see that, and specifically the stroke logs and the vertical log that you have?
Yeah. So I would definitely say a theme that actually has been for many years is writing about health and healing. And, not only my own health struggles and challenges, but many people in my life, including our mom and just friends that I know. And I feel that, I mean, it sounds kind of cliche, but it's actually kind of been true for me that writing through these different medical situations that I've experienced and then people I love have experienced has really been healing. So, I do have to say that is the power of art. It can be healing when you are dealing with, very difficult things in your life. So I think that's part of it. And I think I also feel, I know there are different writers that address healing, health and healing and illness in their art. But I think sometimes people are also a little afraid to talk about it. And I think that it's something that is important to be, if you feel comfortable, to be able to talk about it. It doesn't make it like, oh, that's, or it might make people actually like, oh, I can write about my own struggles and challenges, or my parents, or someone I love. So yeah.
So you touched on this actually in the last, not this last question, but the one previously, revision. So how does the revision process work for you? And your revision process change depending on what you're writing?
Okay, I will tell you, I love revising. Sometimes I over revise. But I can just revise forever and ever. I think that the danger in loving to revise is that, well, like what I just said, you can over revise. So I feel, I'll have one poem and there might be like, I don't know, 26 versions of it. And then I give it some time and I go back to it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I kind of sucked all the juice or life out of it because I'm so, just obsessed with revising it. So I think that's something that I am trying to pay attention to not go back and just keep revising and revising. It's funny, in one of the classes I teach at USF, we had a poet visit and it was so funny because I think she visited the week that I was talking about revision and I was going on and on about revision. And she said, oh, I never revise my poems. And everyone in the class just went, anyways, it was kind of funny, but but wait, what was the last part of your question, MK, about revision?
Does your revision process change or shift depending on the type of work that you're writing?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think about that. Well, I've been writing a little bit of prose. And Tom and I went to Colorado and I had an incident where a racist person said things to me. And so I wanted to write about it. And I wrote this, I guess it's more like what you call it, like not an essay, but maybe a lyric essay. Thank you, queen of lyric essays. Put a lyric essay. And I revised it. And then it was just interesting. I sent it to a couple places because I thought it was timely. It was before the election. And I just thought, well, maybe I should get this out there. But it got rejected. I got a couple nice rejection letters. But then I realized, oh, you know what? Because I was like, well, maybe I should keep revising it. And I thought, this is just a piece that I'm going to share when I'm doing a reading somewhere where maybe the audience might appreciate it. So I've read it a couple times. I've read it at USF once, and I read it at San Francisco Public Library. And then it was so interesting because, people from the audience came up afterwards and they said, wow, Ma, that really was just really hard to hear, but I'm so glad you shared that story, So I think that is like a different experience I've had with revision. Like, I don't really feel that obsessed with wanting to revise that piece. I just feel like, well, maybe this is a piece that I'm gonna, do at readings once in a while. Yeah. But I think with poetry, I am just very tethered to revision. I love revising, and I'm in 4 writing groups. So and yeah, so just I enjoy the process of revision.
Has it always been that way for you, or is this new? Or when did it start?
My obsession with revision.
Yes.
You know what? I would say that doing Invisible Gifts, which actually ended up being kind of a surprise because I didn't know I was going to have a book out on Manic D, so that was kind of exciting. So I sort of had to put that book together, relatively quickly, and I did do revision. But after that experience, I think after 2018, I just became even more like, I am going to focus on revising my poems, and it just became just so important to me.
Okay, so this is the part of the question time where I ask you, what question do you wish I would ask you?
You could ask me about one of my performance pieces.
Okay. Which is your favorite
favorite
performance piece and why?
Okay, so Mark and I and our friend Adrian, we met each other at in school, like Cal State Long Beach as undergrads. And you and Adrian were art majors. I was a poetry, English/poetry major. But there were performance art classes there. It was amazing. I think there were like 3 performance art teachers. And so anyways, we took these different classes. And this is just one of many, but Mark, and so I love Yoko Ono. And I love Laurie Anderson, like just really into performance art. And so Mark and I did this one performance piece where we were in the courtyard right near, I don't know if you remember this, Mark, right near the museum, Cal State Long Beach Museum. And we had a big burlap bag of rice. And then Mark poured like half a can of house paint over me. And I was like sitting in the lotus position under the tree. And then what did you use like a machete or something? You like to cut the bag of rice. And then, you were like going, like cutting the rice. And then it just spilled all over my body. And then there were all these people in the audience. They were just going, oh my God, I hope our tax dollars didn't go towards this. But I think there's just something, one of the things that I love about performance art, and especially art that you might experience just by yourself, is that it really is just for the experience of doing something in the moment, and not thinking so much. I mean, we were definitely not thinking about what the audience. So I mean, that's just one of like many weird performances we're doing. So it's one of them. What's a question that you'd like me to ask you?
Let's see. What is a performance art piece that I would do with you?
And so what is a performance art piece that you would do with me?
I don't know. It's going to be hard to beat Kevin Dublin doing interpretive dance to your poems at my birthday party, but I feel like maybe interpretive dance, but like I think like a whole show that would involve others with not, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but some choreographed. So I'm looking out at the audience because you're all, I see you. You're all going to be involved.
You're all going to be involved. So one of the things I like doing when I do poetry, I mean, I don't do it all the time, but every once in a while, if I'm in the mood, I'll say, does anyone want to do interpretive dance? And there's always only one person. Seriously, only one person. We're like, oh, it's been really fun. I don't do it all the time. Oh, does anyone want to do it?
Ma will be reading one more poem. So if you're feeling, yeah. So where? Okay. All right. We have a person who will do interpretive dance. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to read a poem.
Yes.
And Claudia is going to come up and do interpretive dance.
Okay. Well, so I have one more question before Claudia takes away. How are you going to be, Ma? How will you be celebrating your book in the next couple of months? What other events are you having?
Well, okay, what day is today? Thursday. Okay. On Saturday, I'm doing a reading on Zoom in Cork, Ireland. Cork is San Francisco's sister city. Yeah, it's called Winter Warmer Festival. And they took one of my poems and they have it at my poem and I think 2 other poets, and they have it all over the city of Cork, which is amazing. Yeah. So that's on Saturday. And then on Sunday, I'm really excited. Maker Mentor Muse. It's going to be virtual. There's going to be a reading with Ray Diamond and Jenny Chi and Thea Matthews. And I'm sorry, I can't remember. Okay. One more poet. Don't come to me, I promise. And that's going to be on Sunday. And I have some other events coming up soon, which I'm excited about. Oh, and my friend Anise is here back there. And Anise and I curated 6 poets for Julie Heffernan's opening at Catherine Clark Gallery. And the opening is on Saturday. So you're all invited to come, right, Anise? Everyone come. Yeah. Well, no, she's having so many events, so I can't remember which ones. Yeah, but that's at 2:00 on Saturday, and that's going to be great. And we made little broadsides and or art postcards. And I have other events coming up.
Okay, well,
all right, Claudia.
Lots of opportunities to see Ma and Claudia. We'd like to bring you up.
So Claudia, I was Claudia's support teacher at a school we worked at together. And and then I think it was the first day I was your support instructor. Claudia did this, kicked up her legs over her head in front of the class. And I was like, oh my God, she's amazing. So anyways, we became fast friends. Okay, you ready? Okay. You cured me. No, you cured yourself. I can see neighbors partying across the complex. Felled shadows, tawny blur. Can't make a decision. Chimney swifts, percussing jars. I blow a goose horn. My bleeding gums. How do we ask for what we need? Our bells are rattled now. Time for self-interrogation. Triplets or singles, our flawed, tender selves. Hands tremble quiet now. All right, everyone. So I think we're done. So everyone, please come up, get cake. I don't know if you've seen the cake yet. Thank you, Tom. And there's Prosecco and bubbly. I'll be up here if anyone wants me to sign their book. And thanks so much, everyone, for coming and being here. It's just wonderful seeing friends and
Thank you, Em. Oh.
You made me feel so happy that I quit doing performance art. I'm too old now.